My name's Steve Jolly. I'm the councillor for the Langridge ward in the city of Yarra, which includes the area behind me, Alphington and South Fairfield. And what you're also seeing behind me is the AMCOR site. There's a massive factory that's been here for many, many years. That's decided, the AMCOR people have decided to relocate to Botany Bay up in Sydney. And they're going to flog off their land. As you can see from the sign behind me there with Colliers International being the real estate agent, they're going to sell it by the 16th of April. Now, it's zoned industrial at the moment, but obviously they'll want a rezoning to residential. And what we've heard from all sources, it's pretty non-controversial, is that they're going to put a massive residential complex here, maybe a supermarket, some commercial side to it and so on. And anywhere between, the council bureaucrats reckon 2,000 to 3,000 people will be living there. I've heard from Fiona Richardson, the state member, that 6,000 people could be living here. So what you're talking about essentially is not just a big development a la the Docklands or Salta or Banco or some of the other recent developments, big developments in Melbourne. You're talking about a new suburb for the first time in Melbourne for 100 years probably, in inner city Melbourne anyway. And Yarra's going to have to cop that right next to Alphington, right next to Clifton Hill, which is sort of like leafy suburbs, gentrified suburbs. So what the council have said is that we've got to look at this not just as a housing development, but we've got to look at it as a new suburb. So someone's going to buy this land, they're going to make a hell of a lot of money out of it, fair enough. But we want to make sure that the schools here, that there's childcare here, that the banks of the Yarra, which are just the other side of that building, are protected from inappropriate development, that we have another bridge so that people can cross the river to get to work and to get to school and so on, that we have open space, that these 6,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 people have got sporting facilities, so they're not just stuck up in little boxes like at the Docklands on their Xboxes and their PlayStations, but the kids are out there running around playing sport. To do that, we need to sit down with the state government, the council, the residents and the future owners and work out a site that can be built to ESD standards, can have all the things that I've just spoken about. But if we don't do that, what we're going to have is we're going to have another Docklands right here in the banks of the Yarra, in the middle of Yarra, and we don't want that. It's soulless, it's horrible. Anyone who lives down there will tell you, I mean, the Ferris wheel is probably the most exciting thing that they've had, and that doesn't even work apparently over the course of the last year. So what the council have said is we want to set up a task force with locals on it, which have come out of the local community, 3 locals nominated by all the community groups in the area. The 3 ward councillors, I'm one of them. Reps from the local council, obviously, but also from the neighbouring council, Darabin Council, reps from the state government, and let's sit down through this task force and work out a plan for how we can best have a massive development on this site that's not going to be environmentally dodgy, that's going to make sure we've got all the type of facilities I've spoken about before, and we can be really proud of, and that's going to add value to the area. And everyone's going to make a quid out of that. The locals are going to have a great development next door to them, but also whoever owns it's going to make a quid out of it. We've got no problem with that. And that's what we're planning for. Now, once we've come up with that plan, the new owners will then come along and we'll say, well, this is our plan. They'll have bought this land with an industrial zoning. They'll want us to rezone it residential. We say, well, we'll rezone it residential, but what are you going to do in that? Are you going to come anywhere close to our plan? If you are, no worries, we'll zone it residential and you can make a squid out there on the market. What the state government, on the other hand, have asked the council to do is rezone right now and hand away a major bargaining chip, and also to basically bring in a DPO, which is a very weak planning agreement, or an IPO as well, on the site, and hand it all over to the state government. So they can sort it out with AMCOR. We don't trust the state government to do the right thing by the community and by the local people with AMCOR, or the future owners for this site, I should say. And, why should we overnight rezone and put a whole heap of money in AMCOR's profits? Already got a lot of money anyway. 5 minutes before they sell it. No wonder they're pressurising the government to in turn pressurise us to rezone it. We've said, no, hang on a minute. This is not just some 1-story or even a 20-story development. This is a new friggin' suburb. And we don't trust Mr. Madden, when we look back at his past record, to get it right. I'll call it straight. We don't trust Mr. Madden to get it right. He's part of the picture. He's got an important role in the picture. He's probably even got the key role in the picture, but he hasn't got the only role in the picture. So we've said, hold your horses, and we voted 6-3 last week to set up this task force, not to rezone, to work with the community and all the other forces, come up with a plan very soon. We're not going to take all year, just a couple of weeks, a few weeks, maybe a month or 2 maximum. Put it on the desk of the minister for his ticking of approval. Then, when the new owners come along, we'll bargain with them, we'll rezone, and we'll go ahead. That's the way we have to do it, in a responsible way. I think because of the recession, because Brumby wants to go to the election saying he's creating jobs, he's building Victoria, he's not like South Australia, he's not like New South Wales where you've got sort of half-asleep Labor governments, but he's a thriving, forward-looking Labor Premier. He's sort of thinking, all of these people are a bunch of yuppies. I don't care about them. I just want to keep, you know, business moving, and if there's a new developer and all the building companies are pushing me to create jobs, I'll just do that. What we're saying is, hang on a minute, you can still have your job creation, but you can have a much better product if you just give it a little bit of time. I work in the building game. I'm a shop steward in the CF, and we're very proud of that. Whether we build this in a month or whether we build this in 2 months, there's still going to be bucket loads of jobs for building workers. But I know building workers want to create, you know, suburbs, because that's what it's going to be, that they can be proud of, that they can walk past in 20 years' time with their kids and say, I helped build that suburb, not some abortion like the Docklands. And so Mr. Madden needs to know that he needs to chill out a bit, have trust in the community, have trust in the council to come up with a good plan. We'll negotiate with him and with the residents, and then we'll whack it out there for approval at his good time. And that's what I hope he does. If he chooses to call it in and override the residents and override the council, he'll pay a political price at the state election in this area. There's absolutely no question about that. So the choice is with him. We're not going to mess him around, but we're asking him to pull his head in, give us a couple of weeks, say anywhere between a fortnight to 2 months, to come back with a plan. At the end of the day, even we're saying it will go back to his table. He will have the last say. So I don't know what he's stressing about. So all these threats of being called in, don't do it. Don't do that and make Fiona Richardson's job a lot harder at the next year's state election. Well, if he calls it in, the fact that they haven't called it in yet shows that they're a bit wary about calling it in, you know, a year and a half out from a state election. That's not going to be an easy state election, because they know that they're going to pay a political price. So even if they call it in, they know and they can expect, and I can guarantee, that they will be under massive community pressure to basically implement whatever the task force comes ahead with. So we're going to go with the task force anyway, and we're going to put and we're going to get it ticked off by Yarra Council, and then we're going to put it on his table. Now, whether he's got a call in, whether he doesn't got a call in, that's what it's going to be on his table. And we'll be lobbying hard. But I've got to tell you that the Labor Party councillors in this area and the Labor MP, who I'm actually friends with, I would say she's a personal mate of mine, Fiona Richardson. She's a very hard-working local member. We don't agree on all things, obviously, but she's not like a lot of the Labor MPs who just are seat warmers. She's not like that. She's a hard-working MP. She's not stupid. And she knows that if it's just called in crudely over the heads of the locals, it'll be World War III around here. And, you know, and that's not an empty threat. That's just a fact of life. I mean, I could be dropped dead tomorrow morning, but everything I'm saying is correct on this one. So really, at the end of the day, it's not like 15 years ago when I was involved in Richmond School, where Mr. Kennett wanted to close the school and the locals wanted to keep the school open. There was no room for compromise. It was always going to go to some almighty blue. This is we're much closer, because Fiona Richardson is saying pretty much what we're saying. You know, that we want to have a decent number of houses. We want to have a commercial operation. We want to have plenty of schools, plenty of childcare, plenty of open space, protect the Yarra. And we're arguing about secondary questions, ESD and stuff like that. There's nothing that we can't sit down and work out. So let's sit down and talk, rather than start the usual ALP state government trick of trying to bully locals and bully the council, because we're not bullies. We're not going to be bullied, I should say. You know, you're not talking to some hick town here. You're talking to the city of Yarra. You've got 3 Greens and the only socialist councillor, which is me, in the whole of Australia. And mate, if they want to play at hardball, we will play at hardball. They won't know what hit them. But there's no reason to go down that road. We're not going to roll over. Let's sit down and talk. We'll get a solution, and everyone, building workers can start making money in a recession by going over there and building something good. The new owners can make an absolute squid, and the locals can be proud of it, and the state government can tick it off and go to the poll and say, look what we built under our term, compared to what Nathan Rees has done, which is nothing up in New South Wales. So we can all be winners out of this, if Mr. Madden plays his cards right.